Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Do apologize for the delay. We're loading into ICLEN, the Road to 3K MMR, the losers bracket. The loser of this series will be eliminated from the DCC2, and the winner will advance to face, I believe, the winner of Team Envy up against Insomnia. And so ICLEN looks like they've got first pick. It will be interesting to see what hero they decide to let slip through the first banning stage. We have been seeing Lycanthrope and Brewmaster making it through a fair amount of time, as well as the Tinker. ICLEN, Carl does play a very impressive Invoker, was able to use that to his advantage, but because it's a Radiant side Tinker this time, they might opt to ban it out if Road to 3K MMR decide not to ban it themselves. So we've got a Titan to ban coming out from ICLEN. They really don't want to deal with the big bad Watermelon, because he's currently the most powerful offlane hero in the game, especially on the Radiant offlane. He's difficult to deal with because the Radiant offlane traditionally has a much easier time. You've got access to the Dire hard camp that you can pull through to be leech some EXP. If they go for a double pull through, it's much easier to leech EXP because you can leech it from a low ground, since they have to go through to the hard camp. And because it's a lot easier for you to be able to find experience over in the Radiant offlane, on a hero like a Titan, you're able to get your Ravage online much faster. Once the Ravage comes online, it guarantees you at least the first engagement that you've got that Ravage up. Tinker ban coming up from ICLEN, so taking no chances. Tinker over on the Radiant side does enjoy a significant advantage because A, your offlane's a lot stronger, and you've also got access to the Ancients close to the mid lane, so you can stack it yourself or have support stack it. It's much easier to defend the Radiant side Ancients than is the Dire side Ancients. We're going to Invoker ban, the Respect ban coming up from Road to 3K MMR. Immediate Faceless Void first pick, and Faceless Void, he gives you the drafting advantage, because now you're forced to pick up heroes to counteract that Void, and even then your execution has to be perfect. So Skywrath Mage, picked up, works very well with the Void, works very well against him. And if he catches out one of his own teammates in the Chronosphere, you can simply Mystic Flare him. So you say, thanks for the setup and blow him up. Otherwise, if it's just Faceless Void, you just poop him with the L, use the Ancient Seal to be able to deal enough damage to drive him out of his own Chronosphere. You probably don't want to commit the Mystic Flare, because he's got 1000 movement speed and unit walking, so you just walk on out of there. But you could definitely try to zone him out and do as much damage as possible. Or if he time walks forward and you're quick enough with your fingers, you can actually silence him before he's able to throw out the Chronosphere.
10 seconds.
As the Ancient Seal is a 0 cast point, so it will be interesting to see what hero decides to come out from the Road to 3K MMR. They're going for Earthshaker. Earthshaker works very well against the Void, because you're guaranteed to be able to at least get the Fissure stun during the Chronosphere. Even if you don't block him, you can at least get the Fissure to be able to delay it for as long as possible. We're going to Doombringer pickup coming out from ICLEN. So with the Doombringer pickup, potentially could be one position Faceless Void in the safe lane, and offlane Doombringer. Or if ICLEN want to play super greedy, they could actually run a jungling Doom and have Faceless Void +1. So they do have that flexibility. Doombringer, you can run him in the mid lane, but he's not really the greatest mid, just because he's got such a high attack point for his front swing. It's easy to be able to outlast hit him in lane. He's never going to be the win mid. At most, he breaks even. Razor ban coming up from ICLEN, as Razor works very well against the Void and against the Doom. Since if he gets the Eye of the Storm before you chrono him, he's still going to be a threat inside the Chronosphere. And if you don't Chronosphere him, you can just get the Static Link to force Faceless Void out of his own Chronosphere, or otherwise he's going to risk losing a lot of damage. And so Razor works very well, especially against the Doombringer as well, since Doombringer's biggest weakness is he's got absolutely awful edgy growth, and so he tends to have very low armor, and Razor punishes heroes with low armor, especially fairly slow heroes like Doombringer. Since you've got the, you're guaranteed to get a good leash off, and the Eye of the Storm will completely tear through him. So third ban coming up from Road to 3K MMR, we might be seeing something like a Witch Doctor ban coming up from them, as you never want to give away the Witch Doctor with the Faceless Void, unless if they've got a support duo that doesn't really synergize well with the Witch Doctor. They're starting to ban out the Shadow Shaman, so Shadow Shaman also another hero that works well with the Void. Since Void wins you the fight, and then Shadow Shaman's able to take a tower, and so it gives you that benefit. You also can Mass Serpent Wards in the Chronosphere to deal damage as well, but the primary advantage of the Shadow Shaman Faceless Void combination is Faceless Void with another support hero like a Skywrath or with a Lich guarantees you that fight, and then once you win that fight, you take a tower and a half using the Mass Serpent Wards. So you've got that pushing power coming up from him. Also provides you a huge amount of lockdown. But that being said, Shadow Shaman against a Skywrath is a bit of an interesting matchup, because the Skywrath Mage should be able to destroy the Shadow Shaman, since you've got the higher mobility, you've got the superior initiation range of the Ancient Seal, and once you Ancient Seal the Shadow Shaman, you can just style on them with the Mystic Flare. So fourth ban coming up from ICLEN. It will be interesting to see what hero they decide to ban out, because they've picked up their 2 supports so far, so Road to 3K MMR, immediately showing their hand with the Skywrath Mage Earthshaker combination. Does make a lot of sense, since you've got the Earthshaker to be able to provide the lockdown, while Skywrath Mage provides the damage, and you can use the concussive shot to give Earthshaker an easier time to get a good fissure blocking. So you've got a lot of synergy coming in between those two heroes, and of course you've got the Ancient Seal in conjunction with the Echo Slam, which does an absolutely obscene amount of damage if you're able to get a very early Blade Dagger on the Earthshaker. ICLEN decide to ban out the Brewmaster, as Brewmaster works very well against the Void, although there is the Doombringer pickup. And Doom works well against the Brewmaster, since when Brewmaster blinks in, he's not going to be able to split in time, so you can always catch him out with the Doom. So long as the Doombringer is able to catch him out in time, if he's got quick enough fingers to be able to immediately have Doom ready. and catch him before he splits, because you want to clap and then split. Just because your Broodlings don't have enough movement speed to be able to run down heroes without the movement speed snare coming in from the clap, so it's very difficult for you to be able to get your CC rotation going. And Brewmaster, 35-minute window where you pretty much win every single fight, so long as you're able to get Arcane Boots and Blink Dagger in a fair enough order. Ember Spirit ban coming out from Road to 3k MMR, so Ember Spirit synergizes well with the Faceless Void. Usually you don't want to draft melee cores with the Faceless Void, because every time you throw out the Chronosphere, they can't do anything. But Doombringer doesn't really count because he's there just to shut down a single hero with the Doom. That's the whole point of the hero. You choose one hero on the enemy team, you say you're not having fun in this game, you blink on them, you doom them, that's your entire team fight contribution. You're also going to be the mech carrier, and you're probably just there to be a tanky presence. So most likely going to be something like Arcane Boots into mech, into Blink Dagger, maybe a BKB or something like a Shiva's Guard. Your sole objective is to stay alive for as long as possible, doom the target, and just run at the supports. So with that Scorch stuff, if you do eat an Alpha Wolf, you do right click very hard, even without any damage items. So that's the power of the Doombringer. Road to 3k MMR, they're starting to sweat a bit. They go for a Lifestealer, so a bit of an unconventional carry pickup against the Faceless Void. I don't really agree with the Lifestealer, especially because Doombringer hard counters the Lifestealer. Since you could prevent the Rage, prevent the open wounds, and the Feast coming up from him with the Doom. And so far, they don't really have any other viable Doom targets. You can Doom the supports, but you never really want to Doom the supports unless you absolutely have to. You always want to Doom the core position heroes. And the intrinsic weakness of the Lifestealer is he's a hero that can only carry if he's got one item ahead. Same thing with the Viper. Viper provides you a lot more utility. He's a very powerful 1v1 mid laner. And so most likely going to be seeing Viper in the mid lane, Faceless Void as a safe lane farm, or we could even see a Faceless Void in the off lane and Doom as the safe lane farmer, as Dire side Doom does have a bit of a drawback. It's a lot more difficult for him to be able to find creeps, a lot more difficult for him to be able to stay alive as well, especially against the Skywrath Earthshaker combination. So if you run a one position Doom, his job is to get Arcane Mech ASAP. That frees up Viper from having to go mech, so he could decide to just straight up rush, so he could decide to pick up something like a very early Drums of Endurance, pick up something like an early Aghanim Scepter, and start taking fights by storm. Once the Aghanim Scepter comes online, Viper can't touch him. Viper is going to be able to completely, the Lifestealer can't touch him. Viper's sole job is to be completely shut out the Lifestealer. Since Viper Strike, you can't purge it, it goes through BKB. Doesn't matter if you rage, Lifestealer, his sole job is to hit people. If he can't hit people, you might as well draft another carry, because Lifestealer, he gives you the first 20 minutes if you play very aggressively, because he can play a lot more aggressively than any other carry hero in the game, but if you're not able to really capitalize, or if you go for greed, and it goes to the later stage of the game, he starts to fall apart, because it's very easy to kite him. When you see the enemy team pick up a Lifestealer, your supports, you immediately want to get 4 stuffs ASAP. Their sole job is to keep kiting the Lifestealer. If you can wait out the rage, he's dead. Especially with the Viper Strike coming online, to be able to snare him through his rage, and the Doom potentially being used as well. We've got a Windranger pickup coming up from Road to 3k MMR. It could be potentially a mid lane Windranger or an off lane. Windranger does work very well in the mid lane as a 1v1 hero, because she's got such high base damage and she's got such an excellent animation that she actually should be able to win the level 1 and level 2 against the Viper, before Viper gets enough points in the Nether Toxin that he can out DPS the Windranger. But if Windranger is able to deny Viper enough golden enough experience, she could start to make it very difficult for him to play aggressively against her. Since Viper, he can't do anything when she Windruns apart from the Viper Strike, and he's not going to have that till level 6. So Windranger could potentially be thrown into the mid lane, most likely going to be an off lane Windranger. We have been seeing Windranger predominantly used in the off lane. 5th ban coming up from Road to 3k MMR, they want to ban out another support hero that works well with the Witch Doctor. So Venomancer works very well with the lineup they have, because you've got the Gale to ensure that you get a good Malediction and right clicks in. Jakira ban coming up, so Jakira also does do a lot of work, especially in conjunction with the Witch Doctor, since you've got the cast, while it's an unreliable stun, you've got the immediate follow-up with the Ice Path. You don't want to initiate with the Ice Path because it's such a tricky ability to be able to land consistently, especially on moving targets or heroes like the Lifestealer could rage out of it. Simply because Jakira, he has an absolutely abysmal turning rate, turns like a Mack truck, and he casts like a little bitch, 0.54, so if the Clockwork catching out the battery cell, he can't do anything. It's very easy to interrupt his abilities from being casted. Similar to the Earthshaker, but Earthshaker at least has the Echo Slam, the guaranteed stun coming out from the Aftershock. Jakira, he could pop Macropyre, since that's got 0 cast point, but that's about it. So ICLEN will be interesting to see what hero they decide to pick up. We could even be seeing something like a Lich, but they're going to be looking into bans now, so I want to ban out mid lane heroes that do well against the Viper. We could potentially be seeing something like a... Well, they've banned out the Razor is another hero that deals well against the Viper. Warlock can do okay against the Viper in the sense that you can outlast them with the Shadow Word, and Corelock is a very powerful hero in the mid lane, since with the Fatal Bond Harassment you actually can keep Viper back. But that being said, it's not going to be the greatest pickup, because you don't really have the initiation advantage to be able to capitalize off the chaotic offering. So we're going to Bat Rider Band coming up from them in case they start to send Wind Ranger mid. Since Wind Ranger does very well against the Viper, since you could rely on the Wind Run as a get out of jail free card against the Viper, can find CS quite effectively. And Wind Ranger's biggest advantage over the Viper is the fact that she can push out the creep wave to find runes while Viper can't do anything. Viper in the mid lane, you usually don't have much rune control, so you simply rely on just hitting them, keep hitting them until they back off. And ICLEN, they've picked up a Slark, so because they've already shown their hand, they don't have any room to pick up an AA or a hero like a Bloodseeker. AA, they still can pick up AA, but AA Witch Doctor, a fairly ineffective support duo, because you don't have enough lockdown for the AA to be effective, and you don't have enough lockdown for the Witch Doctor to become effective. Since either of them, they can provide the lockdown or the damage, but because AA's lockdown is so intrinsically dependent on having someone else set up for him, and Witch Doctor also, you want some kind of setup, because Cask is so unreliable. You want something a lot more reliable, so you could be saying something like a Shadow Demon and Witch Doctor, not the worst combo, but not the greatest, because it provides you that defensive capability that you could use against the Slark. Since Disruption is one of the few abilities that will persist through Dark Pact. You can't Dark Pact Disruption because it removes you from the game, and so that could be a way to deal with the Slark quite effectively, especially since Slark, if you pick up another soft support hero, one that doesn't have any hard TC to deal with the Slark, he will run all over you. Slark, you never want to pick him until he's your last pick, because if you pick him too early on in the draft, they hard counter him with the Bloodseeker. Even if the Bloodseeker is absolutely awful, so long as he has Thirst leveled, he's able to completely hard counter the Slark. Since Slark is entirely dependent on the Shadow Dance regeneration to keep him alive in these engagements, they're going for a Timbersaw. And so we are going to be seeing Breed with the Jungling Doom. So we're going to be seeing a dual lane with what looks like the Faceless Void and the Witch Doctor. Or potentially it could be the off-lane Void and the safe lane Timbersaw. But ICLEN, if their greed isn't punished, Road to 3k MMR are in for a very difficult game. And the Timbersaw, once the rage wears off, Lifestealer becomes absolute food for him. Since Lifestealer as a strength hero, he actually has fairly low strength growth, similar to a Dragon Knight. Survivability comes in from the rage, as well as the feast. And that's not really going to help you all too much against the Timbersaw. That being said, Lifestealer does do very well against Timbersaw, just because he hits so hard. If he catches Timbersaw in position, goes open wounds at 1 with the setup coming in from the Skywrath and the Earthshaker, can shut Timbersaw down hard, and Timbersaw is a very greedy offlane hero. If he does get a good start though, he becomes a ticking time bomb who can take over the game. So we're going to introduce the players from both teams over in ICLEN. Untamed running into the safe lane as the Faceless Void, the Cock Penguin going to be the Jungling Doombringer, Tobzino rotating top, going to be the 5 position Witch Doctor, Carl going to be what looks like the mid lane Viper, and Suck on D's rotating into the offlane as the 3 position Timbersaw. So the boys over on Road to 3k MMR, we've got Dogfish leading the charge once again, going to be on the Slark. I believe he played that in the last game he casted. Risky going to be over on the, what looks like the 5 position Skywrath Mage. Darkhawk's going to be the 4 position Earthshaker, at least until he gets a Blink Dagger. Lunar Blessing going to be the 1 position Lifestealer, and God's Gift going to be what looks like a mid lane Wind Ranger. So the mid lane Wind Ranger should have a fairly effective time at level 1 to level 2, unless a Viper levels Nether Toxin at 1, in which case you just poke him instead, since Viper can't really stand toe to toe against the right click power coming up from the Wind Ranger that early on. At least until the point in the Corrosive Skin comes online. They're grouping up and forced to ensure they get a good ward placement. So I believe that won't give them rune vision. No, yeah, just barely doesn't give them rune vision, but it gives them enough safety ward vision so you can spot the support rotations. And it's in an unconventional enough spot, they're not going to be dewarded out, because a sentry ward being placed to block out the pull cap. And God's Gift immediately rotates in the mid lane. He wants to try to get that block off. It looks like Road to 3k MMR, they're copying Team Envy, hiding both the supports in the tree line. Gonna wait for them to expose himself, and with the Earthshaker, this combination becomes a lot more dangerous, since you have a perfect Fisher block here. You just force them to run through there. While they're running through there, you're beating on them the whole time, especially with the Lifestealer, since he's probably going to be opting for open wounds at 1 if you want to be playing very aggressively, and since you have the aggressive setup with a concussive shot and with the fissure, the open wounds is just the icing on the cake. And Tobzino, very little the Witch Doctor can do. He at least got the cast bounce, so if he gets good cast bounces, he might be able to buy enough time for Untamed to get the hell out of dodge. But most likely, he's going to be the target, since Untamed can always time walk over the fissure. And so you want to go with the squishy Witch Doctor with 0 armor. And so Carl looks like he got a fantastic block off. Looks like the players do know each other. They were scrimming against each other a little bit earlier. The mid players are just playing a casual 1v1. And so Carl, he opted for Nether Toxin at 1 to give him the passive laning advantage so he could out CS the Wind Ranger. So good recognition coming up from him, since he knows that if he tries to play aggro against God's Gift could always just kill Wind Run at 1 and just trade hits quite effectively. He's already doing so. He outranges the Viper and he's got the better attack animation. And at this point, he has more damage. Once the Nether Toxin 2 comes online, Carl should be able to handily out CS the Wind Ranger in lane. But the advantage of this is neither of them can really play aggressively against the other unless they misplay significantly. And we've got the pings coming out. They know that something's not quite right. But of course, the advantage of this is even if they're not finding kills, they're forcing them to play so far back that it's giving Lunar Blessing a huge amount of free farm. And so even if they're not able to actively find kills, they're still passively winning in the lane. So it's the advantage of the threat coming in from the supports rotating in the bottom lane. Dogfish, he opted to max out Essence Shift in the last time I cast them, and in this case, going for 2 points in the Essence Shift very early on against the Timbersaw, who doesn't actually have that many stats to work with and has pretty awful stat growth, could be a very effective way to deal with Slark D's. And Slark D's going to be trading hits. He's got the Whirling Death and the Reactive Armor, so he doesn't really give a damn. So once the 2 points in the Essence Shift comes online, he can start to trade hits, because that's the only way he can contest the lane against the Timbersaw. Otherwise, Timbersaw should be able to control it quite effectively just by spamming out that Whirling Death. Looks like he already has the CS advantage, as Dogfish has to play fairly passively against the Timbersaw. But once level 6 comes online for both the Slark or for the Timbersaw, depending on which one gets level 6 first, you can turn around for a kill. Once Shadow Dance comes online, you can disregard the burst damage coming in from the Timbersaw, and if you have Chakram before he has access to Shadow Dance, if you can bait out the pounce, you can turn around for a kill. 2 points up in the Essence Shift, and Dogfish is just going to be throwing out a few cheeky right clicks to start leeching as many stats as possible. He's actually playing fairly passive, so he's very afraid of that Whirling Death, but he needs to be playing a lot more actively now, because he knows that Timbersaw with the Whirling Death on cooldown, he doesn't have that burst damage combo. And over in the Radiant offlane, looks like Untamed actually getting a fair amount of CS. Despite being 2v3, they really haven't been able to accomplish too much with this ag tri-lane over the top lane. If they're not able to do so, all ICLEN have to do is not give away kills. So, since Faceless Void, with just levels, he can create a lot of space with the Chronosphere and find kills through the time lock max. He doesn't necessarily need to find that much farm, so long as he doesn't die. That's his sole objective, and Top Xeno as well. His job is just to sit next to Void, make sure he doesn't get picked off. If they're able to hold the line, not give away anything in the early stages of the game, then the tri-lane starts to fall apart, because they're entirely dependent on finding these kills, or they might even start to rotate mid, and when they rotate mid, then you start poking Lunar Blessing. Because Lifestealer alone against the Void and the Witch Doctor isn't going to be having much fun. The Witch Doctor, you can keep right-clicking him down, he hits like an absolute champ. Looks like Doombringer is actually fairly low, just jungling up. In the meanwhile, he has eaten an Alpha Wolf, so they give him a fair amount of damage, and Dogfish, now he's going to start poking and trading. No points up in the Dark Pack still, so he really seems to like this build. And in the 1v1 offlane situation does give you a fair amount of work. Would have maybe liked him to hold on to point and pounce in case he needed it for Dark Pack to support rotate, but he knows that the greed coming out from ICLEN is not going to be rotating anytime soon. I've got a good safety ward placement being placed by Slark D's. And since it's a 1v1 offlane, that's not going to be de-warded. And so Slark D's, the only thing he has to worry about is Dogfish. Playing very aggressively, he's actually out of mana. Dogfish, if he knows this, he can stand his ground and just trade kits very effectively against Slark D's. So you always, when you're in a 1v1 matchup, you always want to be checking the enemy hero's mana pool, what items they have. You want to be getting as much information as possible to work with, so you know what your limitations are. And Carl handily out CSing God's Gift in that mid lane. Power shots are starting to fly through now, as it looks like Windrunner probably will have the rune control. Since Viper, you don't even really need to go for a bottle. You don't really get too much benefit from it. You do have the option of being able to store runes, which is nice if you want to go for kills. But ideally, you want to sit mid until you get mech, and then start to rotate and force. It looks like he's maxing out the Nether Toxin. Usually see in programs max out Corrosive Skin to ensure that you can get that mech off, even if the entire enemy team jumps on you, since it gives you a huge amount of sustainability in these fights and survivability. But against the Wind Ranger, maxing out the Nether Toxin gives you a lot more control in the lane. Usually you also see the split build where you only really need 2 points in the Nether Toxin to be able to completely dominate the lane in terms of CS, and you want to definitely max out Corrosive Skin ASAP. And so maxing out Nether Toxin this early on does give you a lot more damage, but of course the drawback to it is you don't have that survivability that you're really dependent on. Since Viper is actually a fairly squishy hero without points up in the Corrosive Skin, but of course that you're mitigating that factor with the mechanism. So Carl, he's going to go for the rune, but unfortunately God's Gift is able to deny it with the illusion. So good plays coming up from him. And the top lane looks like Sentry was being placed again. I'm going to block out that pull camp to ensure that Untamed gets as little gold as possible. But he's still got 21 CS, actually only 2 CS behind Lunar Blessing. And so Risky as well as Dark Ox, they need to start rotating, or they have to start to go for these pick-off kills. Whenever Top Xeno goes to pull, you play hyper-aggressive against Untamed. They should have actually placed a ward there, so they could spot out the rotations for when Top Xeno is going in for the pull. Then you jump on Untamed. If you can catch him out with the Ancient Seal, or while I say that, Toby 1 level players coming up from me, did miss the first blood. Slark D's, with the Chakram available, is able to cut down Slark. So Dogfish unable to get off that Shadow Dance, and he's entirely dependent on that if he wants to stay in lane against the Timbersaw. So good plays coming up from Slark D's. The advantage of Timbersaw against Slark is Slark, if he's able to juke himself through the trees, even if it's only for a second or two, he could get that Shadow Dance regen, so he can actually turn these engagements. But you can't really juke through trees against a Timbersaw, since his entire concept of the hero is cut down trees. And it looks like Timbersaw opting to max out Timber Chain. This is the most DPS heavy build for the Timbersaw, assuming you could get more than 1 Timber Chain off. Shackle Flies from God's Gift unfortunately doesn't really do anything against him. And Carl just stands his ground, throws out cheeky right click. Otherwise, if you're against strength heroes, sometimes you do see the maxed out Welling Death build, because it gives you a lot more consistent burst damage since you don't have to get 2 Timber Chains. Dogfish training up against Slark on D's, and Slark on D's actually out of mana. Dogfish actually go for a kill if he wants to, over in the top lane. Looks like Untamed able to get one, he actually gets two. Since it looks like Dark Ox wasn't there, and you got the rotation coming in from the Doombringer. So Doombringer is providing the aura and a few cheeky right clicks, able to bring him down. So good recognition coming out from the Doombringer, choosing to max out Scorched Earth, as opposed to Devour, since you need level 4 Scorched Earth ASAP if you're going to be playing a jungling Doom. Otherwise, it's too much greed for the enemy team, for your team to be able to handle. You can't carry that much greed, because Doombringer is completely useless as a fighting hero until you get at least 2-3 points up in the Scorched Earth. Once you get 3 points up with the Alpha Wolf, you actually deal a fair amount of damage, because you're guaranteed to get at least shots in. And you don't necessarily need maxed out Devour, especially as a jungling Doom, because your objective is just to provide that macro punch for the rest of your team. Risky goes in over and Slark on D. Slark on D is just standing his ground. His God's Gift comes in, catching them out with a shackle with a haste rune. Power shot flies. Ancient Seal not available, as it looks like he opted not to skill up at level 3. Usually want to go for a 1-1-1 build, but they're able to bring him down one more right click. And over in the top lane, Chronosphere has been used. Dark Ox, he's going to be the sacrificial land. No way he really should be able to get on out of there. He's got the Fisher up in like 5 more mana, but Untamed smacks him down. Looks like Top Xeno actually got that last hit, so he's got boots up. This is a very rich Witch Doctor for this early on into the game, especially considering it's a dual lane. So the drawback, the intrinsic weakness of if you go ag try is if you're not able to find kills, you might as well do something. You might as well go for a dual lane, because you're not going to accomplish anything. Lunar Blessing called out Cock Penguin, holding on to his Doom as he doesn't actually have it. He's just able to smack him down. So some good body blocks. The cheeky right clicks with the Scorched Earth, able to do a lot of work. We now have the Mechanism up for Carl in the mid lane. So 8 minutes into the game, this is what Viper does best. You sit in the mid lane, you dominate the mid lane because they can't out-CS you. You get mech 8-9 minutes, and then you start rotating in force and creating a lot of space for the rest of your team. You can continue to just sit there mid. So every time God's Gift rotates, you do a little bit of chip damage in the tower. Unfortunately, you don't have enough damage on your own to be able to take the tower. But if you eventually get enough farm, you could be a carry in of yourself. Since Viper, if you've got item parry and EXP lead, or if you've got EXP and gold lead, you become very dangerous as a hero. You just go into support to Risky. Could be taking a floor right now. Suck on Desus back off, as Dogfish is there. Looks like he has opted for a point over in Dark Pact to be able to ensure that he has some way to be able to survive the CC coming out from ICLEN, in case he gets caught out of position or with the cask. Untamed, going to be going for the Mask of Madness, so fairly standard Faceless Void build. Mask of Madness gives you an absolutely massive amount of DPS. With the Faceless Void, it's actually opting for no points and backtrack, so this is a very standard off-lane build over in the Faceless Void in a 1v1 matchup, or when you're playing from ahead. Because Time Lock is absolutely absurd. 140 magic damage every time it procs, 25% chance, and it's PRD. And so inside the Chronosphere, you're guaranteed to get at least 2 to 3. With the Mask of Madness, that goes up to 5 to 6, and so that's enough damage to guarantee that you kill a single target. It doesn't matter who you catch out, you've got enough damage with that Mask of Madness to kill them. And if you start a fight 4v5 with the rest of your team there to follow up, you should be able to decisively win that engagement, especially with the Viper with the mech to be able to bail you out once the Chronosphere wears off, and you're still sitting there with the Mask of Madness debuff on. And the Slark, he's a snowball dependent hero, but unfortunately he's had a bit of a delayed start. The drawback to the Slark in this game is if he's caught out in the Chronosphere, he's going to die. Slark, it doesn't have enough stats, it doesn't have enough survivability on his own because he has such poor stat growth until he gets the maybe if he goes for an Ayasgadi. He's entirely dependent on Shadow Dance to keep himself alive. Death Wall as well as Chronosphere does bring down a 1, and looks like Dark Ox as well comes a bit late to the party. Didn't catch the memo, so the Death Wall's able to bring him down. Shadow Dance being used, unfortunately not being used as well. Cockpinger just smacks him down. So I don't know why they decided to rotate into the Chronosphere one at a time. You go one at a time like that, you give Top Xeno that triple kill. So Witch Doctor, he's become Skrillex. Once that Aghanim Scepter comes online, he out DPSs every other hero in the game. The Aghanim Scepter upgrade for Witch Doctor is absolutely ridiculous because the 900 bounce range means you're guaranteed to hit 4 to 5 heroes every single time you drop the Death Ward. Even if there's only one hero initially in range, 900 bounce range is enough to guarantee at least 1 or 2 bounces. And those bounces then bounce with 900 bounce range as well, so you're actually dealing more damage than any other ability in the game. And since you've got the Chronosphere to guarantee you being able to get a good Death Ward off, can pretty much carry you through the game. So Untamed, he takes a back seat, the Top Xeno's able to lead the charge. Looks like Fisher comes out defensively to block out Cock Penguin. They go in, no Chronosphere, Untamed just smacks the fool. God's Gift, now caught up with the Doom, so it's a sad Windringer. She takes it, one more right click. Dogfish catches that Top Xeno, might be a kind of retaliatory kill, one more right click as well, there we go. The Dark Ox giving sacrificial lamb, and once that Shadow Dance wears off, they can just run him down. Phase Drum as well as it looks like Phase Drum up on Cock Penguin, gonna be going towards the Drums of Endurance. He's got enough gold for it now, probably gonna be going for a Blink Dagger actually, the rate he's farming. Phase Boots up on him, just gonna right click him down. Dogfish is able to juke himself out. Cock Penguin actually might die to tower right clicks, yeah, he's gonna die to tower right clicks, so. Flames coming up from boys over in ICLEN. Doom immediately mad backs into the game, and Carl taking a fair amount of damage from Lunar Blessing. I guess stand his ground and turn. He unfortunately doesn't have enough mana. If he had mana, he'd be able to throw that Viper Strike. But while that's happening, suck on D's. Typical contribution to the game, just split pushing over in the bottom lane. You really don't want to engage as Timbersaw until you get your arcane boots, and until you get maybe level 2, if you can sit back and the rest of your team is able to carry you through the early stages, you effectively function as another semi-carry. Especially if you're able to get a very early Bloodstone. At the rate that Suck on These is farming, he is going to be able to find that early Bloodstone. And once Bloodstone comes online for Timbersaw, there's nothing they can really do to control him. Because if you're focusing everything you have to kill the Timbersaw, then Carl and Untamed walk all over you, especially with the greed of the Doombringer and Cock Penguin. Hasn't been punished at all. They haven't done anything to be able to deal with him. Runs in over at Lunar Blessing, pops the drum charge, starts smacking him. He doesn't really give a damn. He's got a Sword of Fire. Like Stannis Baratheon, he's got Lightbringer. And Cock Penguin's Azor High confirmed. Ritme coming up from Lunar Blessing. Risky, making 2 right clicks, and he loses almost half his life from that. Dogfish, Winged Wings, Power Shot does catch him out, and Dark Ox does take a fall in top lane as Untamed is able to just clean him up. 1 right click flies over on Dogfish, but it looks like everything is good to go. So they're just going to back off, take that tail on the mid lane. It looks like a Shackle actually lands over on Cock Penguin as well as Suck on These. No, never mind, Suck on These just sitting there, just watching his teammate take a lot of fire. He's actually almost out of mana now, so they have to be a bit more careful. Doom flies over in Slark. Shadow Dance is on cooldown and Doom is there. So Dogfish overstaying is welcome. Looks like Deny tried to come out from God's Gift. Unfortunately, wasn't able to deliver the Gift of Mercy. And Cock Penguin, he's just standing there. He actually jukes out the power shot. And God's Gift forced to win run on now. Lunar Blessing comes back to the fray. He actually opted for a hand of Midas. You usually don't want to go Midas on Lifestealer because you're a semi-carry hero at best that is very effective the first 20 minutes. If you go for a Midas, you're giving them 10 minutes where you're not as effective as you should be. You want to go for early phase drum, you want to go for the Armor Medigian so you take some engagement. While I say that, Cock Penguin, getting called out, Echo Slam actually flies, that might be the Toneless. Death Wall's Woman as well, Risky, going to take a few more records from Carl, and Oberyn Martell, the Red Viper of Dawn, brings him down. God's Gift, he's got Shackle Shot available, so he can try to turn over on Carl. But Carl's deciding to wisely back away, tries to juke out the power shot, unfortunately flips it, and God's Gift should be able to bring him down. 1 more cheeky right click. Dogfish might be able to run that down. You got Pounce. Carl is still alive. He's actually opted for Face Boots over on the Viper. Dark Pack just barely clips him. There we go. 1 more right click coming out from Dogfish. And we've got the Trash Talk coming out from their own team. Untamed. Spots out Dogfish. He doesn't have Chronosphere. He's got Mom Spaghetti. Could use it to go over on God's Gift. God's Gift doesn't have mana for 1 run. And she gets smacked down by Untamed. Mom Spaghetti to be too hot to handle. Lunar Blessing looks like he's actually going for a Treads. Do not do this at home. Treads on Lifestealer is the worst build you could possibly go for. The whole point of your hero is to be to hit people. Treads, it doesn't help you hit people because your hero is actually, while you do have the movement speed from the Treads, and while you've got above average movement speed, you have to be able to get in range to use open wounds. No one in their right mind is going to let you walk up to them and get open wounds if you don't have any kind of move speed advantage. And so you want phase drums to ensure that you can sprint on up with the phase movement speed, get that open wounds and start smacking you full. If you can't do that, and if it takes you 4 or 5 seconds to then be able to get that open wounds off to try hitting a target, you've lost that window of opportunity because they can easily cut out your rage. The attack speed, you don't really need to build attack speed too much on the lifesteal in the early stages. You want to build movement speed and damage to ensure that you can kill targets within the duration of rage. Mobility is the premium when it comes to the Darkseer. Looks like a Rod of Owlie up on Suck on These. He gets caught up with a double shackle. Got some Spectre coming out from ICLEN. Of course, the biggest weakness of the Lifestealer is if the game, he can't manfight against the Void. Void with the time lock should be stalled all over him. So the Treads isn't going to help you at all. His job is to rant at the backline heroes. In this case, the only one's going to be Tobzino, and try to kill him ASAP. You can rely on the Infest Bomb, but even then, it's not going to be all too much. Dogfish pounces himself forward, misses, gets caught up with a Doom, he takes a fall. As Stannis Baratheon in the form of Cock Penguin, cuts him down. Dark Ox throws out the Fissure. He does hurt the Enchant Tome to try to buy himself as much space as possible. Suck on These. He's got the Chakra Medal, he's able to cut him down. Looks like the entire team going in favor of ICLEN. GG's finally been called, 15 minutes in. And it looks like ICLEN will be moving on to the finals for the bracket D. I believe will be the winner of Team Insomnia up against Team Envy. If it's Team Envy up against ICLEN again, should be pretty interesting, as Envy were the ones who were able to knock him out down into the loser bracket, so it will be interesting to see if ICLEN can avenge themselves. So it looks like that will be it for now. I'm going to take a quick look at Golden Experience graph. 15,000 experience leads, 15 minutes in the game, 20,000 gold lead. A lot of Albion use, Echo Slam flies, but it's not going to be enough. Carl just smacks him down. He doesn't really care if he's silenced. He does so much damage to the Net Toxin. He can just stand. Lunar Blessing being smacked up by Cock Penguin. He's holding onto his right click to get that last hit in. So Cock Penguin doing everything he can. Dogfish caught up in the Chronosphere, Untamed. Tower aggro switched over to Tobzino. And God's Gift, he's backing off. He's got that win run, but looks like GG has finally gone through. So that looks like will be it for now. I'm just going to see if there are any other games available, since that will be it for today. Otherwise, if there's no other games left, so stay tuned for more. Hopefully we'll be right back.